Average at Best Cornhole here. We got some 724 bags, right? So they were new to the ACL stamp world last season, and they're already not renewing their stamp. So we did pick these up. These are ACL 2024 bags. Most of the season they were just selling their normal bags, and then like halfway through they released this Xtreme series or whatever, which is essentially just a smaller template. So we got some Project 5s and some Project 5 Xtremes. And the new name, I think, is going to be
Blacklist, you said?
Blacklist. So these will be 724 Blacklist and Blacklist Xtreme. Same material, same fill, same size, same everything. So we're going to jump right into the baggage. And in a nutshell, the Xtreme series, it's just smaller fabric, right? It's the same way to fill, which I was super impressed with. We'll get in a little bit more detail on that later. But smaller template, a lot thicker, a lot fuller compared to the normal series.
All right, so we'll get right into the speeds. These are all rated at a 9 and a 5.5. Craig purposely grabbed the same color fabric on the first ones that we got, the regular Project 5s and the Xtreme, just to see what kind of speed difference we would see between the Xtreme and the standard version of it. And we saw a little bit, right? The smaller template, the Xtreme's a little bit faster.
A tiny bit, but I think you'd imagine that. It's a, same weight, but it's a smaller template, so it's taking up less surface area.
Yeah, less surface area. You're getting less friction on the board when it's sliding up. Makes sense that, it's not going to slow down quite as quick on the board. I don't know how much we want to talk about the speeds. We ended up picking up a third set of bags here with a completely different color. The tannish, it looks white, but it's more of a tan color.
Mm-hmm. Typically, it was going to be faster.
Yeah, typically with the white fabrics, we expect slightly faster speeds out of that, but not the case, right?
It was not. You'll see on the ramp, it was a little bit slower for some reason.
Yeah. Getting into the materials here a little bit, Craig, why don't you tell us about the hybrid side? It's it's not the Viper R, but it's
the Project 5 carpet. Yes, I saw the owner. He specifically said that he would not claim that, but it is that R carpet that everybody knows.
Yeah,
actually now it's the Blacklist carpet.
The Blacklist carpet, right?
And then the top's the Viper Deadhead Pro Sniper Fast Side. I mean, this is a Viper R clone, just a different form of it.
Yep.
Template on these, we kind of touched on it. So, the regular Project 5s, they're, pretty much an extra large. And then the Xtreme is like an 1/8 inch smaller all around and about an 1/8 inch thicker than it also. So you can imagine, with the same amount of weight and the same amount of fill, it is a smaller, puffier bag.
Get into the fill flop here. 724, all their bags, and especially these have the same mixed fill bag or mixed fill resin in there, and the big variation that we see is with that smaller template with the exact same amount of the same fill and the same amount of weight. That's where we're getting the flop difference here. You can see in Craig's hand here the standard's definitely a lot floppier. You can feel it in your hand too. It has less of the standard has less of that full feel and stuff. So if you like that full bag feel, the Xtreme definitely has that.
That leads us to the bagmanship, and you got to listen to this. So this has never happened before at all by far. We get these bags, I measure them, I throw them on the scale. This is when I had the standard and the Xtreme. All 8 bags weighed the same exact to the 10th of a gram. It was like 453.3 grams. That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Never seen that before. And that was another reason why we picked up this set. I was like, that had to be a fluke, right?
Yeah.
So we get these ones. They are the exact same to the 10th of a gram. If a bag company is putting that much into, how much fill he's putting in the bag, you can only imagine how the rest of the bagmanship's going to be, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we see that looking at these bags, playing with these bags. Absolutely top-notch, bagmanship. Quality's great. Seams are tight. They're close to the edge. No loose threads coming off where they tied it off or anything like that. All right, we'll get into the slide up here, and first thing we're just going to talk about is how they were broken in. Craig, like usual, breaks these bags in, and from what I remember you saying, you pretty much followed the recommendation from 724 on these, right?
He's got some pretty strict recommendations under each bag series on his website. So yeah, it's just a warm water soak and a low heat tumble dry, which was okay.
Yeah.
These two right here, that was good. Great. Something about this tan slow side, though. I don't know what it is about it. And he actually made a big post one time on Facebook, coming from a bag maker, his experience. This tan whitish is, probably the starchiest and stiffest, coming off the roll before he makes the bags, and it shows. But, I mean, that probably means it's going to last the longest, too.
Yeah, it did have a little bit of effect in, the performance, too, as well.
Forgiveness on these bags, and you can expect the larger, floppier, thinner bag is going to have a little bit more forgiveness than the smaller Xtreme series. The Xtreme, it is going to give you some on-one kicks and whatnot, but the playability of that bag and the options you can do with that bag is going to be a lot greater.
Whole bodiness now. Again, a nod to the to the standard Project 5 Blacklist. Larger, floppier. It slinks into the hole, drips out. Whatever word you like best for that. Does a little bit better of the job. But overall, I thought they were all very hole friendly.
I didn't have a problem putting any of them in the hole. Yeah.
No. Few plugs here and there, but that's just more of just how the bag's accumulated than the bags themselves causing that.
Yeah, and I mean, this bigger bag, you got a greater chance of that corner accidentally catching that hole and swinging around too. But, like you said, I mean, even the Xtremes, they were hole hunters too.
Yeah.
And collectability, so this is where the tides are going to turn a little bit because the Xtremes, they were better at collecting. I personally thought. Smaller, fuller bag like that, these large things, sometimes they just scrunch up and kind of, want to move around the bag you're trying to collect, which is good when there's a blocker up there you're trying to move around. But those Xtremes, I mean, it seemed like every one you tried to collect, for the most part, you were collecting.
Yeah, they collected very well. I mean, they both collected very well, in my opinion. The Xtremes did do a better job. They really, when you hit them, they just do that tumbleweed effect where they just grab onto each other and don't let go and go where you want to. So it was a good time trying to collect those bags. Speed consistency, don't need to go too much into this. We all know these materials very well. That's why it's such a popular material. Extremely consistent. The Xtremes are just going to be a little bit faster, again, just because of their smaller footprint, less friction on the board.
Capable shots, and our opinions on this, right? You're going to get the standard Blacklist bags. You're going to want to run that in the hole, right? I mean, you can set up a blocker with it. And it's a good blocker because they're so intimidating. And then if you want to cut around your blocker, you want to cut around your own opponent's blocker, it's good for that. Then the Xtremes, I mean, that's your control bag, right? That's what you're going to be doing all the fancy shots with the rolls and flops and really good cuts and, the dirty style game, essentially.
Yeah. One thing that I'll add is this tan material, that's definitely the blocker one. Just because it is that slower speed. Yeah. When he first brought these out, I'd been throwing these, and I kept putting up accidental blockers with those because they just weren't moving quite as much.
And we thought they were going to be faster. That was the thing. Right? That was,
So,
and the ramp, I mean, proved what we felt when we were throwing it, too. So.
Expectations versus reality, right? Sometimes they don't line. How are these good bags going to make the average play better?
I would think the Xtreme, since they have every shot available, but you can still run holes with them because, that's all we were trying to do with them. They'll probably make you a better player if you do want to learn a little bit more shots, especially cutting. I mean, those things were cutting like crazy, right? Yeah. The standard Blacklist, they're just going to make you better because it's the big floppy bag, right? It's going to be easy to put in the hole. Boost your confidence up a little bit, get your PPR up, maybe win some matches.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. I'll just add that, again, this is one of the most popular materials, but I think it's great for average players and beginners. The more, I'm going through all these bags when we're, doing our tournaments at camp and stuff like that, and we're picking bags that we want to play to try and win with, I'm gravitating towards these materials.
And that's why every bag manufacturer has
that's why,
combination nowadays. So company information here on 724 Bagger Company. We're actually kind of local to them. So if we go to switches and local tournaments and stuff, these are very popular bags in our area. That's what we were experienced with them. We threw a bunch of the other series. The company, the owner, and his reps or whatever, dude, they are awesome in the community as far as fundraisers and running tournaments and nonprofits and stuff. So we applaud them for that. If you want to find them, they're just at www.724bagger. They have a Facebook group, which is just 724 Bagger Co. And then there is a that's their page. They have a group that you can join, and that's the 724 Army.
Designs, you just got to go check out their website, right?
It was good before.
Yeah.
Now that he doesn't have a stamp, he's crushing it.
Right.
With his designs and the artwork designs and then the logo designs. And, we're over here the one day. there is subliminal. You ain't gonna see it on the camera. We're holding black lights up to this thing and stuff, trying to figure out there because there's extra writing even behind the artwork, which is, I mean, it's cool.
Yeah, we couldn't make it out though. We were right here, black lights, like you said, everything, and you can see it, but we just couldn't get it to.
No.
Couldn't get the right lighting.
If
whatever.
someone knows, please tell us because it was bugging us for about 10 minutes in one day.
Availability on these, it's pretty good right now. The website's growing, really quickly, and if you see a print that you like and stuff, click on it, go into it, because you can actually mix and match the carpet, colors that you're going with, or the hybrid, side colors that you're going with, and everything.
It also has the, for standard or Xtreme series or whatever. So yeah, and like I said, I mean, his website's decked out now.
Yeah. Costs on these, we were actually pretty happy with it, especially where they're at now, right?
Oh, post stamp prices are awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
3.5 bagger all day. I think it's $79.99 a set, any set on the website. Which is, I mean, that's a pretty good price.
Yeah, that's, we like to see things lower, but for the quality and not only the bags, but the company itself, we're okay with that price, right?
Oh, yeah, of course.
And we're just going to end that there. We're not going to get into the recommend. Of course, we recommended them. You heard us talk about these bags. And other than that, if you're going to be average at some, be average at Cornhole.